JJ, back again. Welcome to Breakdown. It's May 10th, 2022. We're going to talk about name, image, and likeness, and we're going to hit the NBA for a quick minute. You ready to do it?
I'm ready to do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Where you want to start first? Name, likeness, and image, or the NBA?
We'll save the NBA for the dessert. That's gonna not be as substantive
Okay.
as NIL.
Okay, well, let's talk about name, image, and likeness.
Sir.
You know, there's every pancake has two sides to it, and the NIL has two sides, the pros and the cons. Before we get started with that, is there anything about the name, image, and likeness that you want to bring out?
No.
Okay. Well, let's start with the pros.
Okay, let's start with it.
The number one pro of all for the for the name, image, and likeness is
The IRS gets to tax the money that the players are getting because before it was under the table. No, I don't know.
So, that's a good point, because if it was on the table, they didn't claim it on their taxes, but now they gotta claim it on their taxes. So they think they're getting $100,000. After Uncle Sam get his cut, it might only be 80,000. Who knows? But no. But that's the biggest image, biggest thing. Finally, the athlete gets to sit at the table and get a slice of the pie.
Yeah.
That's the biggest pro for the NIL. You have any others?
Yeah, I mean that's like a pretty big pro. Like the workers, the people that you turn on to watch perform, getting compensated is.
That is the biggest. I got another though.
Okay.
For me, the other pro is if my favorite college team has plenty of boosters with plenty of money, they can buy my team to a good finish.
Exactly. Like Tennessee. Tennessee is in a situation, they find themselves in a position that Nebraska finds themselves in, with a great legacy, but their contemporary success has been waning, and there isn't really a natural recruiting base.
True.
So what Tennessee was able to do was have their boosters pony up $8 million and call up a kid in Southern California who I don't believe is 18 yet, and ask him, would you take $8 million to come to Knoxville? And boom, your program is instantly revitalized.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know. The other pro about the NIL deal is that the free market system is fully on display.
Yeah, we do live in a free market economy. We are very much a capitalist society, and all the arguments against player payment has been, it's from people who are, devout capitalists that are presenting kind of socialist ideals when it comes to college football and basketball. Interestingly enough, right?
Well, as I said, JJ, every pancake has two sides to it. What are the cons to the name, image, and likeness?
Well, say you are a team that's established, say you're a Kentucky basketball and you have an established hierarchy of success, and your government doesn't pass rules that allow you to be competitive within the current NIL landscape, then you have a very passionate fan base that just might not be able to compete with. I mean, forget like the Dukes and the Kansases of the world. I mean, say that Auburn comes by and they're willing to play the game.
Understood.
So you have a lot to lose.
I'm going to give you my cons of the name, image, and likeness. Number one, here today, gone tomorrow. I got a superstar on my team today. Tomorrow he could be gone. Someone else come along and say, "Well, we got a deal for you that you can't refuse," and then the player that I wanted, that I liked so much, enjoyed in my school, he's gone.
Well, I mean, that's true. That's a very valid point. But if you remember Midnight Loot Olson, you'd think that you had a player on your team. You'd think you'd have a player, and then Lou Olson would call Midnight.
Okay.
But that's more of a college basketball issue. That's an issue that college basketball has been dealing with the one and done for a while. Now that might be encroaching on college football territory.
I was gonna say, remind me of Lincoln Riley. I'm gonna get to Lincoln Riley in a few minutes, but I'm gonna just go down another one of my cons. Coaches got to re-recruit their team every year. Once the season's over, you got a freshman, you got sophomores, you think they're going to be coming back, you got to re-recruit every single one of them, because if you ignore one of them, they can be gone.
Yeah.
So that's a con to me. The other one, to me, that is potential locker room problems. If I am having a great season and my NIL deal is only $100,000, and the quarterback is having a mediocre season and his NIL deal is $1 million, halfway through the season, I might get a little bit TO.
Yeah, that was a bit of an issue with Miami. Miami had a booster that recruited a transfer from North Dakota State or South Dakota State to come to Miami, and there was their best returning player is a guy named Isaiah Wong, who was not getting quite as much, and I think he had a pretty justifiable argument that he deserved, in the free market, he deserved a little bit more for what he was able to accomplish, coming off an Elite Eight season versus this new transfer. And the same issue also happened with the guy who just committed to Creighton.
Oh yeah,
One of the reasons,
they couldn't afford him.
Well, Kentucky, Duke, and Kansas were all in the mix, but they ended up backing out because the price that he was gonna get for them would have been more than a lot of players that they had were currently in.
Yeah.
And then if that got out, which it would, then how do you handle that? How do you manage your locker room at that point?
Yeah.
It is the Wild West. I mean, they're gonna have to regulate it at some point. But,
Got to put some guardrails around it.
but who's gonna regulate it is the question. Because the NCAA doesn't seem to have the staff as of right now.
They don't want to get sued. They don't want to be defending 20 different lawsuits, or 30 or 40 or even 100 different lawsuits, because that can be expensive and time consuming. Yeah. So they're pretty much taking their hands off. And they came up with some new guidelines. Talk about the guidelines.
Yeah, so the NCAA yesterday released a guidance, a memo that basically was trying to avoid boosters from targeting athletes and using NIL deals as a part of recruiting. They wanted to separate NIL from recruiting, was like the main part of the memo.
Which they won't be able to enforce.
Well, that was the problem. It didn't have any teeth because they didn't specify any type of system or any type of way of going about that, because all you have to do is say that you can put that in a contract that this NIL deal has nothing to do with recruiting. All you have to do is
true. Right, exactly.
I mean, it's hard to prove.
Yeah,
for sure. And that's what that Rich Miami booster I had referenced earlier.
Yeah,
he's a lawyer. I don't know if he still is a lawyer. I don't think he has to do anything anymore. But he came out publicly and said, a smart enough lawyer can word a contract in a way that you can't. So they can backload the contract so that you have to be there for a certain amount of time. So
yeah, I mean, they came out with that memo, and you and I both agree that it's toothless.
Yeah,
it won't be enforced. I got two other cons that I want to address. Okay. If my favorite college team does not have a lot of rich boosters, my team is screwed.
If you're not tied to a conference, yeah.
Even if you're tied to a conference and you can't offer players decent incentive, you're just gonna lose out.
I will say this though.
Okay.
If you are a fan of a school that doesn't have a lot of rich boosters, you're probably screwed anyway.
That's
I'm trying to think like all of the powerhouse universities that dominate have boosters. I mean, they have that structure of support. Boise, there aren't a lot of Boise's out there anymore.
Let me give you my last con, and I'm sure I could come up with more, but it is that a lot of these uh, NIL deals, have various clauses in them. Some of them say, well, if you sign this clause, you got to commit to my school for 3 years. Like the quarterback that Tennessee got, they want him to commit for 3 years, not for 2 or 1. He can't say, well, I'm going to hit the transfer portal. He signed that clause. He's there. Uh, things can go sour, can go south, or anything can happen, and that player can end up being stuck in a very unhappy situation. And the other thing is that I read where some of these deals had clauses in them that siphon off some of their future professional earnings. Maybe 1%, 2%. I mean, I don't know the deal, but it just that it siphoned off some of their future professional earnings. So those are some aspects of these clauses that I consider cons.
Yeah, those are absolutely cons, and those won't impact like the best of the best because I mean they'll have the ability to negotiate different, you know, with different advertisers or whatnot.
Well, what about the
But
quarterback that's getting $8 million from Tennessee? He's stuck there 3 years because it in that contract it says for 3 years.
I know, but I don't think going forward.
Okay.
Even if you're stuck there for 3 years, I mean, that's if you want to get your $8 million. But
Well,
that's not
if
like
not, you could get sued for breach of contract.
it's kind of a gilded cage though. Um, but yeah, I mean that's what happens when you go from over regulating, you know, what was basically professional sports. It was over regulated, and now the regulations are off,
Yeah.
and now it's the Wild West.
JJ, really quickly before we hit the NBA, do you have any ideas for any potential guardrails to the NIL? Because I got a couple.
Um, Enforceable guardrails. I don't really. I I mean there are enforceable guardrails, but they're gonna have to. I think the Power Five is gonna have to break off from the Group of Five, and
And
it's just a different structure.
and most people think that's going to happen.
But once that happens, yes, then I will.
But let me give you my guardrail.
Okay.
And the first one I'm going to tell you, I don't think it's really doable. I don't
Okay.
think it's really feasible, but I'm going to mention it anyway. And that is to eliminate the transfer portal. Make players sit out a year if they transfer. And the problem with that is, once you go there, it's hard to go back. So I don't really think they can do that, but that just, in my mind, a potential guardrail that can be established. I
Yeah.
think that will eliminate a few people. And I talk about like Lincoln Riley. Uh, in my mind, he tampered with Mike Woods at Arkansas. After the season was over, after spring training, spring games were over, he contacted Mike Woods. Hey, come to Oklahoma. I mean, why didn't he do it after the season was over? Why go through spring game and spring training and then do it? And he did the same thing
Well,
with,
I mean
with,
that
with,
could,
with Pittsburgh.
but that could always happen to anybody. Like anybody could get injured after spring training, and then you're a man down. You need
No,
another guy.
but I'm saying, it increases the temptation to tamper. But if you eliminate if you make them sit out a year, the temptation to tamper is reduced. That's my point. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I got one other guardrail that I was going to say, and that's limit the amount of NIL money that freshmen can earn. Uh, I mean, employers everywhere can limit the amount of money that players earn. The NFL limit the amount of money that rookies.
But then they'd have to admit that they're employees.
True.
So, and I don't think that they're going to do that.
True, but I think they can still limit the amount.
How?
Through legislation.
But I don't think Congress will do that.
Well, maybe state legislators.
I mean, maybe, but if a state does that, then that state is just going to be shooting itself in the foot. I think that I would just go to that state.
It may be, but those are two potential guardrails that I had mentioned. Anything else on the NIL that you want to talk about?
No, it's just it's a breathing document at this point. Like nobody knows what's going to happen next. We're just all reacting, and
Okay.
so I'm just interested.
Well, JJ, normally we keep our discourse to SEC, Big Ten, Collegiate. But we're going to hit the NBA really quickly. There's 8 teams still playing in the playoff right now. On the East, we have Miami playing Philly. That series is tied 2-2.
Yeah,
And we have Boston playing Milwaukee. That series is tied 2-2.
absolutely.
In the West, we have Dallas at Phoenix. That series is tied 2-2. A lot of 2-2 series.
A lot of 2-2 series.
Making for some interesting thing.
Yeah.
But then we also have one in the West, Memphis and Golden State. 3-1.
And it should have been a 2-2 series if not for
It could have
horrible shot selection from Dylan Brooks last night.
been. It could have been. So I defer to you, JJ, your expertise in NBA.
Okay.
Take off. Tell me what you got with the NBA.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of competitive series, which is good because this is the first year that we don't have LeBron in the playoffs in,
Wow.
I don't know, 15, 20 years. I mean, it's been a while. I think I might have been in high school last time LeBron didn't make the playoffs. So it's interesting to see that with, Kevin Durant didn't win a game in the playoffs and LeBron didn't make the playoffs. The NBA is still in good hands. Boston Milwaukee is a very competitive series. Boston has an insanely good defensive team, but Milwaukee has Giannis.
They also have Bobby.
They do have Bobby Portis. They have Bobby Portis, SEC,
Okay.
former SEC player. Also Chris Middleton, former Texas A&M player, but that was the Big 12 when he played for them. And him and Chris Middleton being out is, I think, the reason why Boston will be moving on.
Okay, that's JJ. I want you to give me winners of these series. You picking Boston over Milwaukee.
Boston, Philly, Phoenix.
So you're picking Philly to beat Miami.
I am taking Philly. Kyle Lowry will not be playing tonight, by the way.
Okay, and Dallas, Phoenix. Who are you picking to win now?
I'm taking Phoenix.
Okay, right now it's 2-2.
It is 2-2.
Memphis and Golden State. How come you picking Memphis in that?
I'm not taking
I
Memphis
did.
on that one.
So with Memphis, with Golden State, Phoenix, good series. Who's gonna win it all between those two? Who's gonna win the West?
Oh, Golden State is going to be representing the West.
Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Philly and Boston. Who will be representing the East?
I'll be Boston, so it's going to be
Okay.
Massachusetts versus California again, but the California team is not in LA this time.
Okay. Well, there you have it from the guy who I defer to the NBA. He has the NBA skills. Anything else that you want to hit on before we get out of here?
Can't think of it. Can't think of anything else to add.
Hey, well, come back. The next time we present something, hit us with a like. And make any comments that you might want to make. JJ, we out of here. WPS. We'll pick Suey.
Who dat?